I was thinking about this one for a comedy one. We all love our comedy. My favorite comedian, Martin Lawrence. Everyone knows Marty Marr from,
Yeah.
I mean, Do the Right Thing, The House Parties, of course, his sitcom, Martin, big time sitcom back in them days, folks, in the 90s. And of course, the other movies, Blue Streak, Big Mama's House, Bad Boys, of course, with Will Smith. Champ, I'm going to let you go first. What is your favorite Martin Lawrence moment?
Man, look, it will have to be, when he impersonated Nino Brown on the Martin Lawrence show when he
all with the dog?
yeah, with the dog because he was trying to get to the bottom of who stole his CD player. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget, man, bro man came out the bathroom and said, you know what? I left it up under the bathroom sink. So and then when that segment is over, he just looked at everybody and said, I need you. That was a very, very funny. That was one of the most funniest segments you ever want to have. And I mean, not only that, people don't realize, Martin Lawrence, one of his cousins, the reason he was in those house party movies, uh, I think it either Play was his cousin.
Yes, Chris.
Yeah, Play was his cousin. So,
Yes.
to see him DJing in those movies and doing those things, but that had to be the funniest segment in the Martin Lawrence show, man. Not to mention those epic roasting battles with Pam. That was, I mean, that was something special, man. To never get one episode, he said your breath smelled like train smoke, and that was just
Oh,
one of
the
the
the Mama Bird episode. Mama Bird
yeah.
episode.
Yeah, never forget that. He said your breath smelled like train smoke, and that was like I said, man. My favorite phrase is colorful, man. That was very very funny and colorful at the same time, man. Big ups to Martin Lawrence, man. And not only that, man, hosted Def Comedy
Comedy
Jam
Jam.
for as long as he did, man. Not only that, man, he was a fixture on HBO for a lot of his stand-up specials, man. For you to be, I don't think,
You so crazy.
yeah, I don't think no. I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think no comedian other than let's say my distant cousin Richard Pryor had a run like Martin Lawrence did. I mean, he had a spectacular run. I mean, at his peak, Def Comedy Jam, the Martin Lawrence Show, Bad Boys, not to mention a lot of. I don't think nobody can match Martin Lawrence's peak other than I will say Dave Chappelle. Other than that, his peak for peak, but there's nobody touching Martin Lawrence in the comedy game and the movie game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Patrick, my man, has a comment right here. My favorite Martin moment when he was on the Varnell Hill show and acted. Oh yeah, the one with Jodeci. And of course, this one, the chemistry with him and Pam was hilarious. As a kid who grew up in the 90s, I lived for those spars with Pam would make anyone laugh.
Yeah,
Was, man. I don't know. I mean, you kind of stole my thunder because I was going to bring up the Pam moments, especially the one in which you talked about the train smoke one. But my favorite Martin Lawrence moment, man, there's a lot of good ones. I don't know, a lot. Oh my god, man, there's a lot of good Martin Lawrence moments. Big Mama's house. Remember when he was playing basketball with Trent and a couple
yeah,
other dudes at the basketball park, and then he dunked at the end of the game. That
yeah,
was another great one as well. Probably the "You So Crazy" one. Remember he said something water glycerin all over your body, baby.
yeah.
that, that I mean that was hilarious, man. I mean,
That-
but Martin, my favorite is when he did all those characters from Jerome, Mama Payne, Otis, Roscoe, Dragonfly Jones, all them other characters that he impersonated, man. That was like my favorite character, and of course Shanae. The
yeah,
episode when my favorite one is when the I've Got a Secret episode. That's when Martin goes on the radio and starts revealing everyone's private personal business.
yeah,
So in order for him to win back his friends, he tells a story. One night, 2 years ago, I tried to sleep with my neighbor Shanae. And then Shanae at the end of the episode is like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know. You come over. You come over." It's like it was like you remember that episode, champ?
You know what, man? That was a special time. Those were times when that would not be duplicated, man. Very, very special time, man. That was it, man. You took it back on this one, man. You outdid yourself. I salute.
Hey man, I mean, look,
Man.
I love I love comedy, man. And Chris Rock, he talked about how Martin was the man back in those days. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people. I mean, and then also he was also underrated in that movie Boomerang, the Eddie Murphy movie. That was a good one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that he was underrated in that one, man. Blue Streak was one of the more
The Pizza Man one. Remember how you delivering the pizza?
Officer, I got your pizza. That was a good one. Oh man, look, I never forget when he was in Do the Right Thing, you know, how he was instigating the guy who stepped on his shoes. $105 with tax, you know. That was man, that was a special time, man. Like I said, for his peak, other than I would say Richard Pryor and maybe Dave Chappelle, for his peak, stand up and everything like that, Martin Lawrence, that was that was something special, you know. That was something special, man. He was a special type. He was a special kind. I don't think we'll ever see a run. And when you think about when him hosting Def Comedy Jam, but you know, you think about the people that followed him on that stage. You know, you really had to be funny. It was never a bad show when he was on there. When you think about the episode with him and Eddie Griffin and Chris Tucker and Bernie Mac, that was a special time, man. So you know, peak for peak, I don't think it's anybody in the comedy game that can come close to Martin Lawrence. I mean, he can, other than I would say, like I said, Richard Pryor. You know, but I don't think anybody ever had a peak like Martin
did. Man, Patrick. Another moment, Biggie on there. Pam and Gina were vying for a spot on tour. Then when they didn't get it, that dialogue was epic. You get one, you get two there. I mean, let's not forget the Biggie episode. That was kind of funny though. My other favorite with Martin is that how he and everybody were getting on Tommy for not having a job. I always loved every time when they bring up Tommy. We all know good and damn well you ain't got no job.
Not only that, man, something funny happened. I don't think I said this to you. You know, now you know in Mortal Kombat they got a Dragonfly Jones character that was created.
Yeah.
Silence. So, you know, that just goes to show you that, you know, Martin Lawrence and that legacy stays on even with a game like Mortal Kombat. So that was epic, man. Dragonfly Jones doing the whole, especially when he told a joke about I studied under Bruce Lee. He was on the third floor as I was on the second. And he said that'll be the only joke told in this class. So I mean, Dragonfly Jones was a character within itself. When you think about Jerome, just like you said, Jerome, and you know, don't forget old Otis. You know, take your whooping like a man. When Pam and Gina had to testify on their trial for the bank robbers. Old Otis. That was epic, man. That was an epic time to be alive, man. Salute, man.
Salute. One last one for Patrick. It would have ended the right way if we knew what Tommy job was. It felt like a cliffhanger, but how he and Pam finally realized their friendship was deeper than jokes. Oh yeah, I can't. Oh yeah, remember the episode when Martin plays the love doctor, and then he unfortunately helped Pam and Tommy have more than like a relationship, more than a friendship, and then when Martin's reaction was like, "No." But at Martin, man, that was the show back in the days in the 90s. That was a great show. I mean, there was a lot of great black sitcoms in those times. Living Single, Martin, Fresh Prince, Family Matters. Boy, the 90s were great back in them days. And Martin, to your point, champ, at his peak, at his prime, could you name a better comedian than him at that time?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, man, look, there was times, man, look, when you had your own HBO special, that's when you made it, man, in my humble opinion. there's a lot of great comedians during that time when you think about it. But when you were on HBO, in my humble opinion, that was the whole you made it sequence. And the two highest rated segments to this day on HBO is Martin and my man Eddie Griffin. So those are the two highest. And when you think about guys who've had their own sitcom on HBO, from Gilbert Gottfried to Andrew Dice Clay to even to Eddie Griffin to Martin Lawrence, and to this day, Eddie Griffin and Martin Lawrence, they're the two highest rated in the world in the history of HBO at this point. Even today in social media days with streaming and everything, that says something about not only how good their comedy was, but how competitive the market was back then. Back then, when you think about the comedians that we grew up on and how all of them got into movies, when you think about Earthquake, when you think about Cat Williams, when you think about Kevin Hart, when you think about all of these guys, I mean, even Uncle Elroy went, from Friday. All of those guys at one point or another started in the 90s doing death comedies then. And when you think about how big they got, and it all stemmed from that show, that was the best era of comedy that you are. Now, that's not taking anything from the social media guys. All of those guys are funny as well, especially Desi. Hey, he's from Georgia, so big ups to him. But during that time when you had an HBO special and you was hosting Def Comedy Jam, that said a lot about you as a comedian. Like I said, only two did that, and that was Eddie Griffin and Martin Lawrence. So big ups to those two guys, especially in that competitive market back then. And only regret is that only thing that I hate didn't happen is we didn't see Martin Lawrence on Comic View. That would have been epic as well. But
that would have been great. And even Patrick mentioned Martin had Tracy Morgan on several occasions. All Hustle Man. Let's not forget Hustle Man.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being how big you are. You could give younger an up and coming talent, chances to give their big breaks. And I think that he did that. And although certain things have come out lately, big ups to the great Russell Simmons for giving a lot of comedians their big break on Def Comedy Jam. So, hey, man, look, when you think about comedy, the 90s was the apex of comedy. The 90s was the apex.
And Martin
was the catalyst.
And not only that, there were a lot of great comedians there, too. Russell Soul, Bernie Mac was there, too.
Yeah.
He also had a lot of good ones, and Martin was the host. And they felt like Martin was the guy, given the type of work that he did. But Martin Lawrence showed people that you could make it. Martin came from the D.C. area to get to where he is at this point. Hysterical, man. He was just funny. I still watch the Martin Lawrence show still to this day, man. Hey, you can't blame anyone. I mean, still to this day, the 90s, as far as comedy goes, that was at its peak. That was at its peak, in my opinion.
Yeah. Don't forget about the Malcolm and Eddie show, man. You gotta get, like I said, man.
Oh yeah, don't forget that.
Malcolm and Eddie.
Oh yeah, and of course, Patrick brought up a great point. Robin Harris was in that class as well. Let's not forget Robin Harris.
Yeah, don't forget about the mastermind behind one of my favorite movies, Baby Age Kids, man.
Man, you stole my idea. Just
my bad, man. I think 100 miles per hour. So
yeah,
man, we don't die, we multiply. So that was man. Look, you think about comedy back then, and one thing when people don't think about, man. When you think about a movie like Harlem Nights and the star-studded cast that they had, and when you think about Life, these days, those will be $1 billion movies, considering the cast that they had. You had three of the funniest men in Harlem Nights, arguably in history. I mean, when you think about comedy, you think about Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy, you can almost stop there. That's damn near that's $100 million movie nowadays.
And there were other great casts as well. Let's not forget Russell Soul, Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, Charlie Murphy.
The great Della Harris.
Yes, look, just to name a few. Then you think about Life, Bernie Mac,
Anthony Anderson.
Yes. So, you think about, like I said, these days, those will be almost it'll take $1 billion just to pay the cast alone. So at least 500 mil at minimum. So when you think about what they were back then versus how iconic they are now, those were some of the most apex movies that you ever want to see as far as comedy is concerned. Like I said, man, we're never going to get a greater era than the 90s in comedy. And man, and let's don't forget about, regardless of the controversy, don't forget about Eric Spears, man. And his impersonations of everybody, how he impersonated Charles Barkley. The famous song, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Kenny Kobe, everybody know Kobe for the pawns, fit the part, the greatest player. Let me tell you something, Kobe. Don't forget about Eric Spears, man. He deserves to be in that discussion as well, man. He was a great comedian as well.
He does. Chris Tucker, too. Let's not forget Chris Tucker, too.
Yeah, straight out of Georgia, man. Got all those Rush Hour movies. Yeah, we love the action by Jackie Chan, but we watched it because of Chris Tucker and his comedy, and his comedic relief. So
absolutely.